What he has said about religion and women and other things like that, that's not what I'm in here for. But if those people want to support this in order to have their way with that, that's perfectly all right with me. I welcome any support, any help that we can get on this, whatever people's motives are. He endorsed the pepper spraying of the handcuffed protesters at Highway 55. And rumor has it was...
Get requests for anywhere from 15 to 20 a day. And so when you do that many interviews and you're under the old microscope that I'm under, it's going to be... I want to live in a country that supports all the amendments of our Constitution. I think they're very, very important, that we never lose sight of the fact that I do an average
election, but they do have to be eligible voters, any 520,000 eligible voters. We feel with the 700,000 that voted for Coleman, the 500,000 that voted for Humphrey, the million that didn't vote, we'll certainly be able to come up with 520,000 signatures.
You know, I'm the one candidate running that really has a lot to lose.
Donald Trump insists he's serious about the White House. His exploratory committee is in its first day, and already a setback. Trump told the Today Show he had a running mate in mind.
Oh, I think Oprah would be great.
But this afternoon, this answer from a spokeswoman for the talk show host. Oprah is flattered, but has no intention of running for office. Trump says he has more names on his list.
I think that you'd have 5 or 6 people that would be actually great running mates, and I think I could convince them to run. If I decide to do this, I will have a great running mate.
What's it going to take to make you decide to do this?
Well, I'll be deciding sometime early next year, and I think there's only one really important thing, and that's if I can win.
To win, he'll first have to secure the Reform Party nomination. Pat Buchanan could be his primary rival. He says he welcomes celebrity candidates like Trump and Warren Beatty.
I think it's very healthy, and the American people can decide for themselves whether these individuals really have the capacity to be a political leader and to be a national leader.
Trump does have a prominent ally. He met last night with Jesse Ventura.
And both of us have decided we're going to support Woody.
Woody's going to be
the next president of the United States.
That would be actor Woody Harrelson, screen right, who, as of this hour, isn't running. Jim Hanchett, NBC News, Washington.
Monday. Oh, okay, a week from Monday. Is the lobby going to be ready by that time?
The lobby's supposed to be...
On Wednesday of last week, the people brought in our new furniture. On Friday, they picked up our old furniture, and we just brought in our files and started bringing in our computers and our files and start a business today.
It's a little scary being the first one because, again, you know, it's basically some uncharted waters for Duluth, Minnesota. And so it just puts you a little more in the spotlight maybe than you really want to be.
Not on the phone. Tom, when you want to get on the computer with Home Solutions and show them the scanner, can you actually scan a few sheets for them a second there or something? One for physical therapist, occupational therapist, speech therapist, social worker. Okay.
We're at 18 right now.
18 right now, 19 on Monday.
19 on Monday. You might want to use that number.
We even hired 3 people this month, in fact. 2 new programmers and a product support person.
Did that have to do with the move up here as well?
It's a sticky kind that you stick on. We have thousands of them, and you just stick it on your lapel, and they took and they set it in a copy machine and made some... disappointing that somebody would be that way to try to drag a campaign down into the depths that they have with putting together, going to all that trouble to, you know, put together some phony letterhead and put some things together that there's absolutely a fabrication.
There was just a guy standing there.
There was no moon, and it was at a little after 9.
Were they worried? A little, maybe. Like outside again. It was as black.
The driving force was Jacob, and his voice I could still hear, and his eyes and his expectations. And that's what kept me going.
The pictures you're looking at were taken shortly after a group of July storms decimated hundreds of thousands of acres in the Boundary Waters. Trees were toppled, campsites crushed, and tourists trapped. It was a picture that was described by many as total devastation. But Jim Brandenburg disagrees with that description, and now he's working to help people understand just how resilient nature really is.
These trees, these big beautiful pines, the reds and the whites, have all evolved with fire, and the scientists say that the whole Boundary Waters burned at least once every 100 years in parts and spots. Mm-hmm. And without fire, it actually destroys the health of the forest.
But controversy still rages over what, if anything, should be done to clean up the storm-damaged areas. Brandenburg is hoping to give people the tools to make that decision.
The proceeds for the 10% that we're doing here is going to the Boundary Waters Foundation, and the Boundary Waters Foundation is going to use that not to physically do work in the Boundary Waters, but to educate the people, which we think is probably needs the most work.
The most feasible plans to clean up the Boundary Waters would be burning, logging, or simply do nothing and let nature do what it's done forever, take care of itself.
Some of the problems that will develop with this are insect infestation. And if a fire gets going up there, they say it's going to burn 4 times hotter and faster than any other more natural fire, and it will burn through the thin soils right down to the bedrock.
Whatever we decide to do, Brandenburg says there's 2 things he's certain of.
Right. It's nature. If we love nature, we have to take the bad with the good.
And learn along the way.
It's going to be an interesting time. We're going to learn a lot.
In Duluth, Craig Sleeman.
There are few who deny it. What I do, I am the best. For my talents are renowned far and wide.
This is a fun show to watch, a little scary, but I brought my friends here so they won't get you. Have a good time. Happy Halloween.
For nearly 100 years, families have gathered before the holidays to build what has become a somewhat unlikely Christmas tradition. Building Lionel trains.
We put this up every Christmas. We have a lot of volunteers who come down A lot of them own their own pieces, and they'll come down and operate them on our tracks for a special event.
It's an interest that began in 1901 when the first Lionel locomotives were created as window displays for toy stores. And by 1903, a catalog was created because of the overwhelming public interest. But what Joshua Lionel Cohen didn't realize when he created the train back in 1901 was that in just 30 years, one locomotive would be worth as much as a 2-year-old Ford car. With a meticulous attention paid to detail, it's easy to see why his creation caught on so quickly. From working log loaders to dumping buckets of coal, the trains allow their owners to decide what they will become.
They can set them up in their homes and play with them, and they can paint the cars into whatever railroad they like or whichever one maybe they worked for. If they have a favorite car that they worked on, then they can bring that into their own homes.
And while there are thousands of complicated reasons people have taken to Lionel trains over the years, there are also some simple explanations why people continue to get on board this railroad ritual. Reasons Adam Winston and his dad say go much deeper than paint and metal.
I've always been liking trains because when I was about 5, my dad bought me an electric train, and I played with it a lot, and I started to get interested in electric trains.
In Duluth, Craig Sleeman, News 6.
Guns and ammunition. Now, it's illegal for a convicted felon like Blum to knowingly possess firearms, and that's what prosecutors say they will be able to prove in this case. They plan to call witnesses who say they handed the guns to Blum and even hunted with him. Blum does have a hunting license in his name. But Blum's defense lawyer says those guns were forced on his family by a friend, and Blum's not the one using them. He says the handgun belongs to his wife, Amy, for self-defense, and the others were used by his sons. The defense says the hunting license was actually purchased so a friend could get another deer. Now, this case is unfolding before 12 jurors and 2 alternates who were chosen around 3 this afternoon. Now, there are 5 women and 7 men on the panel. One man is from as far north as Bemidji, but most of the jurors are from the Twin Cities area. It has been a full courtroom today watching the events unfold today. Katie Poyer's family has listened to the opening arguments and the beginning of the testimony today. Now, this is a separate case from the state kidnapping and murder charges. I talked with Katie's brother Patrick today. He says it's been hard for her family to watch this.
How much I'd like to jump over the railing and get to him. But then again, if I did that, he would win. If I lose my cool, then he wins.
Blum's wife was also sitting in the courtroom today, but she was asked to leave because she might be testifying later. Jurors will return tomorrow morning to continue listening to the testimony. Mark and Michelle?
much.
Let's go over to the table.
Kind of looks a little bit with the shirt kind of getting big and falling off there, a little bit like
We
those.
forgot the Buddha guy to
Don't
come.
they wear those?
Oh,
kinda
maybe.
big?
Yeah.
He kind of looks like one anyhow.
Where's your paper? No, don't throw that in the house. Come here. Let's put this back on. Come here. Son.
What's your name? You got a name for you?
The bad thing about a pit bull is that they have the.
And yeah, he was real good, but the shelter was never kept up.
They hadn't been fed.
And one was so desperate.
This cat I want to live is just such a nice cat. So hopefully we can get some help and get the money in, which the vet said would be about $300 to $500, maybe $600 to do this. And if we can, I think he deserves to get a nice home where there's no stress or strain. Just a lot of love.
Gordy's mother had a heart attack, and Gordy and Mary used to live on our house.
We marched down Superior Street November 3rd, 1940, which is 59 years ago today. And our training out of Paducah provided us with the ability to go on various ships throughout the fleet and make a contribution, because after 1 year we were supposed to come home, and of course we were extended for 6 weeks, and the Japs bombed Pearl Harbor. During that interim,
Never got it. That was a major event for him.
About 5 years ago, I noticed that the kids were coming to school with frostbitten fingers and ears. And from that, being the art teacher, I thought, how can I incorporate fiber arts and teach them a little bit about fiber arts, and in the meantime, produce some functional outerwear for the kids to wear.
This is the story of two girls lost in a sea of abandoned children, languishing in Russian orphanages. Like hundreds of others, these two little girls were born to mothers who didn't have the money to feed them. This is also the story about the Peterson family of rural Cloquet. There's Josiah, and Micah, and Jeshua, Mom Deb, and Dad David. 2 years ago, pregnant with her fourth child, Deb miscarried, leaving an empty place in their hearts. Last January, Deb and David set out to fill that place. Their journey would take them thousands of miles away to an orphanage along the Volga River in Russia.
And just seeing the need. There are so many kids over there. The videos that we saw of children that needed homes was overwhelming to us.
The mortality rate in Russian orphanages is reaching 25%. Desperate to find homes for the survivors, children are put on display in videotapes. in the hope that someone, somewhere, might see them and want them. A Minnesota adoption agency sent one of those tapes to the Petersons. They saw Kira and they wanted her.
Within days of their decision to adopt little Kira, another videotape arrived at the Peterson family home in Cloquet. The second tape also had a little girl. That tape had little Kaya on it, and remarkably, Kaya lived in the same orphanage as Kira. Well, it didn't take long for the Peterson family to decide what to do.
Really, we're only looking at one. And then the more we thought about it, and looking at how close our boys were and what good friends they were.
And the Petersons brought the videotapes to their pediatrician to see if medical problems were apparent. The news was good. While Kira and Kaya were quite thin, they seemed healthy in every other way. Last June, the Peterson boys went to stay with their grandparents, and Deb and David went to Russia to bring their new daughters home.
There's the orphanage right there.
The day they arrived at the orphanage was a day of firsts for the girls. Their first hugs from Mom and Dad, their first animal crackers, and their first new clothes. The girls were required to leave the orphanage as they came to it, naked and empty-handed. Their worn and mended clothing would go to other orphans.
Okay, honey.
The trip home to Minnesota included a stop in Moscow. There, the girls would experience other firsts: a bath in a tub, a new pair of shoes, and the unconditional love of parents.
Now we have to wait 2 hours.
When Deb, David, Kira, and Kaya returned home to Minnesota, just about everyone was waiting at the Minneapolis airport to welcome them.
Hi, guys.
Hi.
Oh.
It was a perfect homecoming, with hugs and kisses all around. For the girls, there were instant grandparents, aunts, uncles, cousins, and 3 big brothers. It cost $30,000 to adopt the Peterson girls. What the family got in return is priceless. Tonight, an empty place has been filled, and Deb and David are again enjoying life's little blessings. All 5 of them.
She learned to walk. When we first got Kira, she didn't know how to walk up steps.
As Russia's economy continues to crumble, thousands of children are being abandoned. The lucky ones end up in orphanages like this one in Duluth's sister city, Petrozavodsk.
Oh, you're so soft. You're such a pretty baby. You're such a pretty baby.
These orphanages survive on handouts from the Russian government, but because Russians can't pay their taxes, there is very little government money to buy the children food.
If a child is supposed to have a roll for his breakfast, he can have only half of it.
When News 6 and the Up North newspaper network first told you about our sisters' children, many of you asked how you could help. Many of you were generous.
There has been thousands of dollars donated to help the babies and children of Petrozavodsk, but much more needs to be done. This is not a handout, but a helping hand to a community determined to embrace democracy.
This bake sale in Duluth is one of what Duluth's Sister City Commission hopes will be many events held to raise money for the orphans of Petrozavodsk.
When I was in Russia this past summer, my interpreter Yulia told me that a kopeck, Russia's smallest coin, was a nothing because it couldn't buy a thing. Well, I explained to her that an American penny was much like her kopeck because it couldn't buy much of anything.
But I was wrong. 10 pennies make a dime. 10 dimes will feed a child for one day in Petrozavodsk. Tonight, News 6 is kicking off a fundraising drive called Pennies to Petrozavodsk. We urge you to collect those pennies scattered around your house and put them to good use, feeding these little ones in Duluth's sister city. Because of the dire economic state in Russia, some of you may wonder if your money will actually reach the orphanages. The mayor of Petrozavodsk has given his word. Money raised here will go directly to help his city's abandoned children.
He himself personally is going to be responsible for reporting back to Duluthians for where the money was spent.
$4.
This one is yours. While their husbands are out bagging a buck, many women spent their day bagging a great deal. The craft sale at the Copper Top Church in Duluth was packed with eager shoppers like Marilyn Andler and her daughter. The only thing they're hunting for, a few Christmas presents.
It's great. You don't have any pressure having to get home, make lunch, or worrying, what they're doing, if they're wondering why you aren't hurrying up or whatever. So it works out really good. You have a day to yourself.
I've seen quite a few hunting wives out today enjoying themselves. Since their husbands are out hunting, they're here shopping.
They're not wearing blaze orange, but the bargain hunters have a few special techniques for opening weekend. From careful sizing to careful sniffing. They're taking a day for themselves, even with a few little ones in tow.
It'd be better if I had a babysitter, but it's it's kind of nice for a change.
But Sue Graber's kids are old enough to go hunting too, so she's ready for a full day.
We're going to go out for a wonderful lunch. We'll probably go out shopping some more, and then it'll be out for the evening. And as long as we're home by the time the guys leave in the morning, it'll be great.
But it's not just women hitting the sales, although men are in the minority.
I'm from Wisconsin. Our season don't start till Thanksgiving week, and there's not much else to do when the wife says, let's go.
In Duluth, Kim Kaiser, News 6.
If you just can't wait for winter to arrive, just think of all those folks who work outdoors every day. They're loving the warm weather.
I'd rather be out of my deer stand, but gotta make money.
Okay, not everyone is having a perfect day outside. In this Lincoln Park neighborhood, a typical scene for autumn. Houses getting some attention from carpenters, preparing for days that won't be this warm. Martin Lepak from the Arrowhead Economic Opportunity Agency says these days are precious few.
Winter is coming. It's inevitable. Every day like this helps, though, because it does reduce your heating costs for the season. But by the same token, you have to get it done because we know sooner or later we're going to hit the 20, 30 below.
Martin points out that delaying the onset of winter saves us money, and he says winterization projects are what this type of weather is made for.
We've got the weather for it. We've got a perfect opportunity to get those winter projects done.
One bad thing, if you think you'll be able to get a hold of the folks who trim branches and cut down trees, fill up the spaces and nail down the shingles, good luck. They're in hot demand right now. And remember their dilemma. While many of us are soaking in the day, they're working hard right through it. Soon, there won't be much smooth sailing. In Duluth, Jason Rice, News 6.
December 7, 1941, an attack on Pearl Harbor mobilizes America. Thousands of men would leave their families to fight one of the biggest battles of their lives. The war was also being fought here on the home front by workers busy supplying the American military machine. One of the battles here on the Iron Range involved digging enough iron ore with a shortage of manpower. When the shortage reached a critical state, someone came up with the novel idea of hiring women.
My husband come home and he says, they're hiring women. Well,
you just applied then and get a job?
Just applied and you were called right now. This is me, the good-looking girl. I used to run the belts on the crusher at the Danube.
Here I am way up there. I'm the small kid on the block.
And this is me. And this is me, Aggie Johnson, and I still have the same lunch pail.
Over 50 years have passed, but twin sisters Aggie and Mary and their cousins Zori and Millie clearly remember their days at the old Danube mine near Taconite.
I was running a belt on a crusher. I just had to push the buttons.
I did something like mill here, only I think my belt was probably a lot wider, wasn't it?
Clean up, shovel it on the belt, and get it all cleaned up nice, and then it goes all over and you start all over.
I had another job where I'd carry
2 pails of ore to the
Sample.
that sample ore. I always thought of at them pails, a little bit of ore weighed an awful lot.
Of course, you know, the men didn't like right away when the women went to work in the mines, you know, they didn't like that, but we worked.
40 women went to work at the Danube during the war years. For the few who still remain, it seems as if it were just yesterday they were tying up their hair to keep it from the ore dust.
And put this here.
Just
Now tie that. Now you put
and
this
then
here
that
and then you
back.
tie it.
Yeah.
Then you tie it again.
Now I'm ready for the mine.
They worked all 3 shifts and work was hard. There was no such thing as a lunch hour.
Here's the Danube mine lunch bill. Here's the iron ore on that one yet. We had to eat on the fly. We didn't have no lunch breaks.
They proved they could work as hard as men, and for the first time in their lives, many got paid like men.
It was $4.20 a day.
I think it finally went to 6 by the time we got out of there.
But they told when they hired you, as soon as the war is over, you are out.
You got to accentuate the positive.
When the war ended, soldiers reclaimed their jobs. Some of the women miners found new ones. None would earn wages comparable to those paid at the Danube. But boy, did they manage to do a lot during their short time in the mines. They earned the respect of their male co-workers and proved women can do men's work. They also helped save the world.
Did our deed during World War II.
The what?
We did our deed during World War II.
Oh, yeah.
Well, there's what I used to look like.
Oh, is that you?
Yeah.
Duluth war vet Russ Hendrickson spent almost 4 years of his life as a prisoner of war. He was on Wake Island in the Pacific when the Japanese bombed it 16 days in a row. Hendrickson was a gunner fighting for his life.
You were too busy to be scared. Let me put it that way. Well, that was our job, you know. We were trained for it. But I wouldn't say it was the calmest I'd ever been in my life, though. Let me put it that way.
Did you think you were going to make it?
No, truthfully, no.
But Hendrickson did make it, although the Japanese took Wake Island and the 400 American men with them. For 45 months, Hendrickson did his best to survive in prison. There was physical and verbal abuse, but perhaps worst of all, Hendrickson battled starvation. He entered the service at 168 pounds. He came home weighing only 103.
You're semi-starved all the time, you know. Anytime you had any free time, you usually went to sleep. That's the only way you lived through it, I think.
Hendrickson's story is like so many during World War II. There's an unselfish duty they felt they owed to this country. Few rarely complained about their situations, too. NBC News anchorman Tom Brokaw.
Most of these people saw so much heroism around them. Everybody was involved in the effort, and therefore no one felt that they should speak out because they would feel as if they were in somehow demeaning the memories of their friends who had died. And those who got back were just relieved to be back.
And like many war vets, Hendrickson doesn't think other generations have as much passion for their country.
I don't think they think as much of America as we did. We loved our country, but nowadays I don't know.
It's third period at Proctor High School, and the national award-winning DECA team is hard at work. 4 of its members have dedicated their focus to help build a Katie Poyer Memorial Fund.
People, if we can just get them to open up their minds a little bit and donate, it'll be a great help.
The DECA team has decided to hold a freestyle skiing snowboarding competition, similar to this one at Spirit Mountain.
We'll have one big jump set up, and they'll go through the run order of everybody will get a jump, and then they'll all be scored and stuff, and then the same run order, people will go through again and get another jump, and then you take the best of your 2 scores. And that the high score of the day will win.
So far, the group has secured prize gifts from Superior Whitewater Rafting and Ski Hut and some monetary donations. But response hasn't been as enthusiastic as the kids would like.
It's very difficult to do because got to go through getting plenty of sponsors and all that. And that's one area that we're kind of struggling in, is getting people to respond to our letters to them.
But with great prizes and great fun, Luke and Eric and the rest of the team hope word gets out to help the Poyer family and have fun at the same time.
I mean, if people are like scared that they're gonna look dumb or not do good, I mean, just come on, it's for fun, and I mean, it's for a good cause, and it's gonna be a lot of fun, I think.
In Proctor, Maureen Tallarico, News 6.
The woods are full of deer as the hunting season gets underway, according to Wisconsin wildlife experts. Even with a large harvest last year, deer numbers keep rising as more fawns and babies survive the mild weather conditions.
We've had two just terrific mild winters the last few years, and all the deer have babies and they all make it then, and so we should have a lot of antlerless deer and small young deer that are going to be taken.
Brian Cardo works at a sporting goods store in Superior. He says hunters are optimistic about this deer season and can't seem to buy enough gear to get them ready for a weekend in the woods.
We've had a lot of call for lightweight, uninsulated stuff because it's so warm.
From gutting gloves to special candles.
These candles we've been selling like crazy. We haven't been able to keep them in here.
Hunters are ready with their tricks of the trade because this year they have the chance to shoot almost as many antlerless deer as they can.
Until they're gone, we're allowed to buy 2 bonus tags per person per day until they're gone for each area, and it doesn't happen very often. Usually it's hard to get 1 antlerless permit.
The DNR is offering more permits this year to shoot does and fawns because that's how they control deer numbers in the long run. Experts say hunters will help prevent some of the problems that come with overpopulation, like a growing risk of deer-car collisions. Kim Kaiser, News 6.
George, are we getting a view here of these kids coming into the snow? Do you notice their heads are maybe just sort of down?
This was the parade in 1997. Harsh winds and snow flying, but the bands still marched on.
When I look back over the years, I can't think of a nice evening.
Students who marched in the parade in the past remember the cold and the challenges of making music in freezing temperatures.
You have to keep playing this brass instrument, touching your mouth, and you have the water and the freezing temperatures, and you just sometimes have a few problems.
We get a lot of condensation inside our rotors and valves, and depending on trumpet or horn, but they just freeze up or get sluggish.
But students say they learn tricks to keep the show on the road.
Yeah, you just keep blowing hot air through it, and it eventually thaws out.
And by the end of the night, this parade vet says it's all worth it.
More people will see us in that parade than anything else we do during the year. I mean, it's simply good PR, it's good community relations, and it is fun.
In Duluth, Jana Katsuyama, News 6.
A few days after Katie Poyer was forced from a business in Moose Lake, I-Team 6 conducted a random survey of convenience stores around the region. During the late evening hours, we found a shocking number of young women working alone, many in stores in isolated areas.
Sometimes we get creepy customers in here.
Statistics show that clerks in cash-based businesses are particularly vulnerable to robberies.
They're conveniently located in neighborhoods, some of the neighborhoods that don't have any other business activity, there isn't a lot going on. They're out in the middle of nowhere. They're by themselves, and so they do. They become good places to rob.
Our report got the attention of several lawmakers, including Senator Becky Laurie, who put together a task force to look into ways to make safer working conditions.
Because of Katie, these needs that have been there for a long, long time are finally going to be addressed because of the energy and the knowledge the public has now because of her situation.
The task force, which includes law enforcement experts, business representatives, legal advocates, and legislators, discovered a shocking statistic.
The National Institute of the Occupational Safety and Health has identified that the second highest killer of teenagers in their jobs is teenagers working alone in cash-based businesses.
This task force is looking to put legislation in place to correct that problem. They're considering requiring more than one clerk after dark, better quality store surveillance cameras, and personal panic pagers for workers. All of that will be expensive, so the committee is looking to help offset the cost with some tax breaks. Through its discussions, the task force has also uncovered some dangerous gaps in law enforcement communication that make it impossible to track all of the registered sex offenders in Minnesota.
Not knowing where some percentage, large percentage of these sex offenders are, seriously hurts an investigation.
Bureau of Criminal Apprehension Information expert Steve Correll says authorities have lost track of 70 to 80% of registered sex offenders because the various law enforcement agencies don't have the technology or personnel to track them.
Katie's experience is bringing all of this to light, and I think that her life and her death will be putting together what really is necessary to protect people who are in her situation.
Barbara Riles, News 6.
Motocross, the mini bikes are and it is family orientated, and consequently that fits right into the
The cars we're going to have parking around the racetrack so you can watch the races from your car if it's too cold out. We are going to have a warming tent, and it'll be a combination beer garden warming tent thing on the front straightaway, and we'll have the grandstand for seating, and I think we'll have a good time. Lee, maybe you can tell them what's going on here as far as racing goes. The admission to this thing is going to be
The phones are constantly ringing, but instead of making reservations, customers are calling to make cancellations after hearing that Duluth National Snowcross is postponed.
Oh, it kills November. November is just a dead month, and we kind of just really rely on Snowcross just to give it that extra boost, and no, we're not going to have it.
What they do have is a hotel that will now be close to empty over the holiday weekend.
Now we're in the process of calling all of the guests that are going to be here or were going to be here for this weekend and letting them know that the race is rescheduled and see if they want to keep their rooms.
Many are trying to reschedule for the new race weekend, but the problem is the majority of the rooms were already taken. Hotels throughout the area are trying their best to rebook reservations.
In fact, they're all working together to try to find any space that's available.
I know the canal as well as East End was working together, and I know American has made some phone calls too. So I think in the spirit of cooperation with Mother Nature taking over like this, everybody's trying to make the most of it.
Business at local restaurants usually doubles on Snowcross weekend, but the change of date may mean a little less profit.
Thanksgiving weekend, a lot of things aren't happening in town, and so to have the Snowcross and all those people on the mountain really helps out. So I know Rick and everybody at Spirit Mountain are as disappointed as we are, but when Mother Nature doesn't cooperate, that's just the way it is.
In Duluth, Jody Grayson, News 6.
Taconite, the material driving much of the economy on the Iron Range. But one local company hopes that it won't be business as usual for long. Minnesota Iron and Steel plans to build a brand new facility that would turn taconite into direct reduced iron pellets and then into steel. The facility would make this abandoned land in Nashwauk into a thriving industrial center once again.
The ripple effect with this project completed will be substantial because there will be numerous other types of industry that will locate around this kind of a facility. And when we talk about maybe 1,000 jobs that are working directly in this project, there are probably another 3,000 jobs that will be created as a result of it being here.
Members of the Iron Range Resources and Rehabilitation Board agree this could be a huge economic boost for the community.
I think it's one of those kind of risks that this agency needs to be taking in order to create the types of jobs that people can support families on.
The question is, just how much of the taxpayers' money should go towards funding the project?
I support IRRB's participation at some level with MIS because I believe that direct reduced iron really is the future of the taconite industry.
And while the project may seem to be a safe bet for the community, one board member does have some concerns.
After all, this is the taxpayers' money that we're investing in the area, and so that the taxpayers have every right to know that they're getting something back from their money also.
The study begins in December and will take 4.5 months to complete. In Eveleth, Jana Katsuyama, News 6.
Don't let crooks spoil your holidays. Thieves use crowded parking lots for their shopping, and Crime Stoppers wants your help in preventing thefts during the holiday season. Keep your receipts separate from your purchases. If you leave receipts in the bags, thieves can return your items to the store, often for cash. Don't leave purses and packages in plain sight. Store your purchases in the trunk of your car. If your vehicle doesn't have a trunk, at least cover the items so they are out of sight to car prowlers. Information is the lifeblood of your police and sheriff's department. If you have information that would help solve a crime, call Crime Stoppers. Our numbers are 1-800-974-TIPS or 723-ENOUGH. That's 723-3683.
What's wrong with this picture? It's the last day of November here in the Northland. Where's the snow? Where's the ice? And most importantly, where's the cold? This November will go down in the books as the second warmest on record here in the Twin Ports. A typical November has an average temperature of 28 degrees, with an average high of 35, average low 21. But this November has been anything but typical. We broke 3 record highs in the first half of the month and have regularly seen morning lows hover near what is considered an average high all month long. We'll exit the month tonight with an average temperature right around 37 degrees, 9 degrees above a typical November. The average high for this November 1999 has been in the mid-40s, compared with a normal November's mid-30s. Unlike the past couple of years, no one really seems to be minding this year's warmth.
Oh, we've had a great year so far. Able to work outside without any problems.
Not being so cold.
Yep, that's pretty nice.
Or even wondering about the direction our winter will eventually take.
Sales have been fantastic. The weather at this point doesn't seem to have affected us at all. It's been good, very good business.
So when was the Northland's warmest November? You got to travel back to 1899 to find that one. The average temperature for that November was just over 40 degrees, almost a full 4 degrees above our average temperature for this year. We could have tied it, though, if only we would have reached a high today of 279 degrees.
For News 6, I'm meteorologist Keith Marler.
Did you find that it was, that you were as successful? No, have you found that
Inmates wanted to donate some of their proceeds from the sales that they'll have to charity at Christmas. It's something that would go to kids.
You ever think you're getting looked at? You ever think you're getting looked at?
There is some evidence that he was at other places during the time that this allegedly occurred. I don't know if there's gaps in that time frame or not, but certainly we're going to be doing everything we can to trace his steps on the 23rd from the
The new sound of 104.1 The Point back
The
to
new
good.
sound has a new voice.
You lose it here, you in a world of hurts.
See? That's not
No, not that voice, this voice.
That film is probably one of the better films I've seen all year. Just for the
Tyrell Ventura hit the airwaves this morning as part of the Amy Daniels and Cheeks Point Morning Show. The governor's son, an aspiring film director, is the station's new weekly movie critic.
Let's talk about Wild Wild West for starts.
All right, does Wild Wild West, stand up to other action films? Probably not.
The job doesn't pay, although the station does pick up the tab for any flicks or video rentals Ventura discusses each Friday morning.
Let's talk about American Beauty, because we had two of the co-stars from that movie in studio.
This is one that did strike me as a film.
It had so many nice elements. I mean, the color schemes they used in the film were very American colors. I mean, hence the title.
But will moviegoers value Minnesota's First Son's thumbs up when it comes to box office decisions?
I don't think that he'd probably go see the family-type movies that I'd be interested in.
What does he know about movies?
No, I thought he was great. I think he knows movies.
It was a wonderfully acted, beautifully directed film, but it just...
Tyrell knows a lot about making films. He even started his own movie production company. But he also knows what it's like to be the son of one of the world's most colorful characters, on and off screen.
You know, we each have our own unique personalities that I guess are interesting to the people out there.
And some of that personality is bound to rub off.
Okay, Dad happens to be Dad.
Yeah.
That helps out a little.
Happens to be the governor.
You know, you live in the governor's mansion. These things help out too. Somehow your confidence gets built up. That's there, right. I'll admit it.
Tell me what frame that is exactly. Oh God, you're gonna pause this on your videotape. Yeah, I don't know what the guy's deal is, but absolutely.
If you ever want the best advice that could ever be given.
Landing and Van Lutz blew by and Keith Homer has got...
Actually, they did a really good job pulling this off. We didn't think there'd be this much snow up here, and the track's real well for the conditions, and it got whooped out pretty good last night, and that's what we like to see, so.
I think there's a lot of people out. I don't think it's affected it too much. There's nothing else to do. They can't go snowmobile themselves, so they might as well come here and watch somebody. It's the only place there's snow.
Exactly. Well, have fun and good luck. I appreciate it. It's the battle for second and real.
The Glensheen Mansion is decked out for the holidays, and the folks who run and restore the home hope many people will be in the spirit of giving this time of year as they start a new fundraiser to bring the mansion back to its full glory.
That was water. We had significant leaking going on at the mansion for probably about a decade. This room suffered some of the worst water damage of all the rooms in the home.
Lynn Vandervoort says it will cost about $10,000 to restore Miss Helen's room. It's one of about a dozen rooms in Glensheen that can be adopted. Restoration is already underway in a maid's room.
We have a local donor who has put up the $1,000 to have this room restored.
Here, the work has revealed a mystery, the name of one of the paper hangers when the mansion was built at the turn of the century. Now they want to find relatives of Louis Burke to see if he passed on stories of its construction. Just another piece of the home's history restoration workers want to bring alive.
This project isn't just about recovering from water damage. It's also about uncovering some of the special features here at Glensheen, like this bluebird border stencil, hidden by years of paint.
It's one of the many little touches that will make this home feel more like it did in 1915. Workers also plan to hang authentic-looking wallpaper and install special precautions to keep the originals from fading.
The drapes, the fabrics in this room, all of them have been sun damaged at one point or another. So that's another part of the restoration project, is that we'd be looking for UV filters whenever we can to put on the different windows to block out the ultraviolet light.
But officials at Glensheen say they can't do it alone. They hope to raise $80,000.
Although the mansion belongs to the University of Minnesota, it's truly the community's asset, and the community has shown time and time again that they will support us, and we're asking once again for a little bit of help in the restoration process.
This is everyone's opportunity to make their stamp on Glensheen's future by bringing back the past.
In Duluth, Kim Kaiser, News 6.
When we walk around, I'll tell you. First of all, this is
Minnesota comes in is not paying for. Are there any reports that they have to have before they can?
U.S. citizen, green card holder, or we deal with clients and their business clients, from the one-person business all the way up to the 50, 100-person business. And we provide them all types of business assistance. We write business plans. We work on marketing research. We do feasibility studies. 7,500 square feet. And this is a conference room that right now we're just... Doing business legally in the United States. So there's an international company can go over here and register to do business in the United States. They can receive. U.S. citizen, green card holder, or going to do. So we're trying to practice what we preach. We're trying to drag, push, pull the Northeast region into the 21st century, into 21st century office practices, and that's the purposes of these facilities.
So, yeah, and it's a walk-up machine. It's a touch screen.
I wouldn't take my facts on that. But there was a question there as to, as with last night, quite often we have a large number of underage people, and we also have our normal traffic from that area, the patrons of the establishments, and so the intermingling of those two is what causes me some real concern as far as safety issue.
With any of the bars in the city of Superior?
I'm going to school in DuPage County, DuPage Community College.
Where's that?
That's in
The court must consider the nature of the offense, people, circumstances under which he has failed to appear in court. In all other matters, would enter a plea of not guilty to count 3 and not guilty to count 4. We would await the court's ruling with respect to
Well, as the calendar runs down, people who have flex plans that run concurrent with the calendar year run into the use it or lose it category. In other words, if they have a balance of money left in their account that they haven't spent, come December 31st, they will lose that money. So basically, this is the time they should be checking their balance, finding out if they have any health needs they can take care of. This is also the time of year when some health insurance benefits expire. And if you have a plan where you pay the deductibles, come January 1st, those deductibles will kick in again. Most of the companies that I talked with, they do send quarterly statements that remind customers of their balance, and on most checks, they will see, you know, their balance is kept as a running account. Other companies also urge the employers and the human relations people to remind their employees that if they have those unmet health needs, they'd better get them taken care of.
But we'll be emphasizing more work in the marine environmental protection area this next year, as well as doing more Coast Guard support missions with the U.S. Coast Guard cutter Sundew.